Good morning, YouTube. And welcome to What the Papers Say. With me, Deek Jackson, on the 9th of September 2020. Today's newspaper is The Times, Scottish edition, Ockeye. And the headline says, Johnson bans meetings of more than 6 people. But I think the headline should say, bovine obedient masses accept godlike powers of government. And there's some interesting stuff about the legality of this, or not whether it's legal, but the contrasting debate amongst the chattering classes of these wittering journalists in the narratives that they choose and when they choose to apply them. So this story is about the increase in cases of coronavirus in Britain, not deaths. 3 people died in Scotland yesterday. That's the highest figure since sometime in June. It doesn't say what date in June, because that might give away the fact that in the last 12 weeks, only about 8 people have died in Scotland, maybe 12. You are significantly more at risk of being hit by lightning in Scotland. And by significantly, I mean if you go for a walk in a thunderstorm, there's a good chance you will get hit by lightning. Whereas the chances of you dying from coronavirus in Scotland, considering there's nearly 6 million of us, are pretty fucking small. The rest of England, cases are increasing. Deaths are going down. The BBC had to report it yesterday because those are the official figures. I was watching the news. The newsreader was almost apologetic. Honestly, it was almost an apology. But cases in Britain, or cases in England, have reached, a level not seen since blah, 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 blah. But deaths are actually going down. Thanks, Data Trawler. So yeah, deaths going down, cases going up. I wonder if this could have something to do with the government's mass testing and the fact that the test is so inaccurate that if you read the word coronavirus in a newspaper recently, you probably got infected with it. Anybody familiar with the book Snow Crash might be aware that there is a science fiction narrative that goes like you can infect people biologically by infecting them intellectually. And I subscribe to that. I think that if you are subjected to the woo long enough, you will physically become sick. I know I'm sick of coronavirus already. I was sick of it a long time ago. So, obedient masses accept godlike powers of government. How did we get here? The government bans meetings of people. When did there become a government so powerful that people let them just dictate a level of intimate enforcement so great that pregnant women are giving birth alone without their partners? People whose children are being born cannot witness it. People whose parents are being buried cannot go, depending if there's more than 6 of them. And so on the way to where I am this morning, I'm near the airport in Edinburgh, and there's a plane taking over just now. Probably empty, because it's likely to be going somewhere that we enforce quarantine in Britain. So on my way here, on the motorway, I saw a sign, and it said, "Plan ahead, stay safe, save lives." And I wondered what the fuck they were talking about. Plan ahead, stay safe, save lives. Like, what? Plan ahead to do what? Or to not do what? Anti-human, good morning. Save lives, how? Was it directing me to a burning building nearby? Plan ahead. Have you got your fire extinguisher? Stay safe, Big Wellingtons. Save lives. Rush into the... No, it's just more fear-mongering. More fear-mongering. Save lives? Oh no, me? Am I personally responsible for saving lives? Oh no. Oh, or perhaps in most people, it engenders and fosters in them a feeling of smug Nazi-like power. I shall save lives. I shall save lives. I shall wear a mask and enforce mask wearing amongst the proletariat, saving lives. Yes, it is intended to have a deep meaning. It is definitely intended to have a deep meaning. Let me see if I can get that in the right place. The Rude Star, for people who are in rude health. I'm in rude health, so no mask, no test, and no vaccine. I hope that will stay there. But if not, what the fuck? Oh, I tell you what. Check it out. Somewhere here. There. There. Yeah, I intend it to be contentious. I am the new Jew. I am the person that shortly in the forthcoming and near future, when people are being pulled over by the army at checkpoints to check that they have had the vaccine or the test, or if they've got their pass to get into Starbucks, I will be saying, no, I don't. And there'll be a special queue for me and people like me. The new Jew. Cannabis card to help millions in pain. Sounds like a good story, doesn't it? When you read stories in the media, you think, oh, that sounds so nice. Police chiefs are backing a new cannabis card that will provide de facto decriminalization of the drug for millions of people with health conditions. Up to 3.5 million with cancer, multiple sclerosis, depression, arthritis, and several other illnesses will be eligible to use the card. It will identify the holder as a registered medical cannabis patient and give officers justification for not arresting them if they are in possession of the drug. Officers find themselves arresting people with debilitating conditions who use cannabis to alleviate their symptoms. More than 1 million Britons, arthritis, blah, 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 bought on the black market. And so it goes on. But if you get to the, let's get to the nitty gritty. The cannabis card, or CAN card, is a private initiative that starts in November and provides those who need medical cannabis but cannot afford the prescription to help avoid arrest. The card is funded by companies that make medical cannabis products and has the backing of cross-party group of MPs. Okay, so let's cut to the skinny then. What this is companies that make medical cannabis products, nasal sprays, stuff like that, want you to pay them for some of their medicine, and once you've paid them for some of their medicine, they'll give you a card. No doubt you'll have to pay them repeatedly to have this card or for it to be active. And that way the police can be assured that you have paid your taxes. And therefore they don't need to arrest you. They need to arrest people who haven't paid for the private cannabis medicine. That's what this is. This is a I bought some pharmaceutical product card. Now yes, the police may treat you lightly if you have it, because it will be some indication of your willingness to prove that you need cannabis medically. It's not from a doctor, it's not from any medical governing body or issuing department, and the headline, Cannabis Card to Help Millions in Pain, should really read, Cannabis Card to Make Millions for Drug Companies, because that's what this is. It's a scam to get you to pay for something that you shouldn't need to pay for, because using cannabis as a medicine should be your right. So Yabu sucks. TikTok blocks users who shared clip of a man filming suicide. I'm not going to read the story here because I think personal tragedies are beneath me, but I wonder if it was a stand-up comedian or or somebody doing that which has become quite popular, proposing to people in bizarre and spectacular ways. And I wonder if it was that kind of suicide. Okay, Johnson faces Tory backlash over deal that breaks the law. This is Boris Johnson, who's planning to rewrite the withdrawal bill governing the border between Northern Ireland and Southern Ireland that we negotiated with Europe when we agreed that we would leave and then negotiate a deal. Now, I would like to contrast this story with the one that says Johnson bans meetings of more than 6 people. Johnson faces backlash over deal that breaks the law. Now, according to some Tories, it would be illegal for him to simply change the terms of some international agreement with Europe. But it's not illegal for him to lock the entire country up after passing a set of legislations that would make Hitler blush. Civil servant misled Parliament over Salmond. This is Scottish news. Alex Salmond was accused of 14 counts of sexual assault, which he was found not guilty or not proven of all of them. And it turns out that the SNP were fitting him up because he threatened to come back into politics and wipe the floor with Nicola Sturgeon. Interesting story here. Winston Churchill, who was re-elected Prime Minister in 1951, immediately wrote a memo suggesting that we carpet bomb Russia with nukes to force them to withdraw from Eastern Europe. An interesting foreign policy, one which I feel America has taken and run with. Obviously, he didn't get to do that, or our history books would be significantly different. And the headline is How Churchill Discussed Dropping Nuclear Bombs on the USSR. Another journalistic euphemism there to detract from what's really happening. Churchill discussed dropping nuclear bombs on people. You don't drop bombs on territory, you drop them on people. Bars and restaurants to be closed as infections increase, but not deaths. A mass coronavirus testing system is being considered for airports to cut the need for travellers to quarantine. And that is part of the government's new, you'll need a pass. Papers, please. You will need a pass. If you've had the test and you have passed the test, you get a pass and you can go shopping or go to the pub. Live your life. Be free from incarceration or a government intrusion into your life. There's more, I swear. It gets better or worse depending on your point of view. Pandemic to cost 210 billion this year in the UK. The government will spend at least 210 billion this year on fighting the pandemic. That's not the total cost to the economy. That's just government spending. Just to be clear, you will be in much more debt than that. As if that wasn't bad enough, this story should really be on the front page, because this is relevant to everybody's long-term future. The number of people in the UK showing symptoms of coronavirus for a month or more is 300,000, while 60,000 people live in fear, die in debt. Yes, I've heard that before somewhere. 60,000 people have long COVID, in which the disease has lasted more than 3 months. Long COVID, that is a form of the coronavirus which has caused in people long-term debilitating illness. Now, depending on your favorite scientist, some people, Nobel Prize winning French virologist who discovered the HIV virus, some people say that the coronavirus was genetically manufactured in a lab in Wuhan. That's what he says. Google him. I think his name's Le Grandier. He says, I quote, this virus has elements of malaria and AIDS in it, and it is certainly man-made. My goodness me! If that wasn't scary enough, AIDS and malaria are long-term illnesses which go on affecting and killing people for years after you have contracted it. Way to go! In other news, not only are people to be banned from gathering in more than 6 in number, but if you do, like Extinction Rebellion, gather to, conduct your inefficient, wanky protest, Priti Patel says you're a criminal. She says, in fact, that all protesters are criminals. Activists are criminals who threaten the British way of life, said Priti Patel, an Indian woman. I'm not racist, I'm just a comedian. Isn't it funny that some podgy female fucking descendant of an Indian should come with her family to Britain and tell us what the British way of life is? My fucking God. Allah isn't Akbar. I digress. Priti Patel says that protesters are criminal who threaten the British way of life. So, don't do that stuff. The British way of life is, of course, to, as the front page says, accept the godlike powers of the government, do as you're told, limit yourself to meetings of more than 6 people, don't visit your partner giving birth to your child, or go to the funeral of your dead and departed, stay at home and wait for the test kit which will allow you to buy food and go on living. That's the British way of life. Sorry. Memorial plaques allow women burnt for witchcraft to rise again. Now, this is another piece of journalism which I did not enjoy. Memorials to thousands of women executed in Scotland after being accused of witchcraft have been unveiled centuries after the victims met their grisly end. What, they met a grisly end as well as being accused? That's right, because if you were accused of witchcraft, that was pretty much your trial over. Simply being accused of witchcraft was the point at which you were killed. So accused is really a euphemism for killed there. 5,000 women were put to death in Scotland in the 200 years between 1600 and 1800. Much more needs to be done to right this historical wrong. La da da da. How about telling us who did it? Blah de blah de blah. Pardon for the women. A pardon? A pardon as if the state was somehow involved. Well, they were. A pardon. A national memorial. To understand what happened in the past. Yes, let us understand. Why don't you tell us what happened in the past? In 1704, she was accused by her neighbour of causing her ill health. So she was tortured to death by the Reverend Alan Logan. Yes, a minister in a religion. She died in prison. She was buried under a large slab to prevent her rising from the grave. Other women would find themselves in front of some Presbyterian ministers who would torture and beat them, sleep deprivation, all manner of cruelties. They would have confessed to just about anything in short order and died within a day of being apprehended. Well, there you have it then. Another memorial states, so many ordinary women were accused of being witches, innocent victims of unenlightened times. Were they victims of unenlightened times? Or were they victims of the church? Were they victims of Christ-loving, murdering scumbags? It sounds to me that unenlightened times didn't torture and kill them. It sounds to me like the Reverend Alan Logan tortured and killed them. And the headline should read, Christians murdered thousands of women they said were evil. Watch this space. Oh, and perhaps they were the old Jew. You know, they say never again, never again, never again. Implicit in that phrase is that somehow something's happened already and again. that we're worried it's happening again. RAF man developed baby fetish after death of dog. An RAF serviceman's fetish for women sitting on babies till they screamed was triggered by the loss of a pet and his mother's death. I'm trying hard to conjure how his dog was lost while his mother died. Did his mother sit on the dog until it bit her to death? I mean, how were the two involved there? Let's just conjure with that image. Woman dies with dog. Man develops fetish for women sitting on baby. I'm struggling to see that picture. Why Tories should hope that Trump loses. US President's brand of right-wing politics is not like the Conservative parties, and it makes him a bad ally for Britain. As opposed to, Daniel Finkelstein goes on writing, for decades the Conservative Party's foreign and trade policy has relied upon the engagement of the United States in defending and promoting an economically and politically free world by bombing niggers back to the Stone Age, Daniel. That's right. Is that the kind of thing that you would prefer? When the Bush junta were rampaging across the Middle East, propping up dictators, kidnapping people all around the world and torturing them to death in Guantanamo? Is that the kind of thing, Daniel Finkelstein, that you might like, as opposed to Donald Trump withdrawing American troops from all over the world, refusing to bomb Iran? Yes, I can imagine how US President's brand of politics is not to the Conservative Party's liking, since he's not been doing any nigger bombing. What a shame for you, Daniel Finkelstein. No nigger bombing for you. The rule of law. The hypocrisy screams from the page. The rule of law. The government's extraordinary admission that it's proposing to breach international law raises questions for the Attorney General and Justice Secretary. This is in regard to making amendments to the withdrawal agreement negotiated with Europe. There's no mention here of how the extraordinary laws brought in to deny basic human rights to the entire population of Britain might be some kind of breach of international law, because of course it isn't. Because we, like your country almost certainly, signed up to 48 treaties with the World Health Organization that make them your government. That's right, we signed treaties going back to 1948 with the World Health Organization, which mean that when they declare a pandemic, once they've declared a pandemic, everything else they say after that has to become the policy of your government. Testing, track and tracing, mask wearing, lockdown, that's all World Health Organization law. Anybody else feeling like a new Jew yet? Okay, 6 shark death takes Australia towards record toll. A man died after a shark attack in Queensland, Australia. The 6th fatal mauling in Australian waters this year. Oh my goodness! Time to lock up everybody in Queensland, ban people from going in the water, and perhaps we should lock all the sharks up. I think perhaps we should ask the sharks. We'll just get some megaphones and shout into the water, all sharks are to remain locked up for the foreseeable future. And of course sharks will just obey, because sharks are a sort of bovine sheep-like zombie like humans. Oh no, they're not. Sharks aren't going to do that. Sharks will keep eating you if you go in the water. That's life. And people will keep catching viruses as they walk around living, which is also life. Lock up those sharks. What were they thinking? Going swimming around, trying to eat. Now, that's just about it. But I think I remember seeing some business news that was interesting. Drug companies sign vaccine safety pledge. Almost a third of people in the UK would not agree to a vaccine, according to a YouGov poll in June. And so the chief executives of 9 drug companies working on vaccines have pledged to uphold the integrity of the scientific process. Well, I'm reassured now. Is that the scientific process that gave us thalidomide? Or the scientific process that let them put radium in toothpaste? Is that the scientific process that underpins the lockdown? You know, which scientific process is it that they're going to uphold? Here's a story that should be on the front page. G4S trio charged. 3 former executives at G4S Care and Justice Service, a private security company, have been charged with attempting to defraud the Ministry of Justice, that's you, the people, it's your money, over its system of monitoring offenders. This is a story about how G4S claimed they had thousands and thousands of protesters that they were monitoring, so the taxpayer would have to give them millions and millions of pounds. And these are the people, by the way, who are currently being given a contract to conduct roadside testing with the supervision of the army, just to keep them safe. In case there's anybody out there, you know, if in case they encounter any of the new Jews who won't have the test or the vaccine or wear a mask like me. No mask, no test, no vaccine. Why do I hate the government so much? What's to like? I'm for an autonomous zone of independence at my house. Hey, cast your mind back. I know it's a long time ago. Remember that 300 years ago, there were almost no national borders on Earth. Most of the countries on Earth were, you know, loose assemblages of people, peoples. Now, a people is not a government. A people is a group of people who are voluntarily living together and abiding by a set of rules, if you like, which suit them. And if you don't like it, you can leave. And there used to be a thing called the frontier. And the existence of the frontier over the years dwindled and dwindled and dwindled till it's now nothing. There's nowhere, there's no frontier, there's no escape from the mass mind rape. And that's why I don't like government. I don't like government because I can't escape them. There is no frontier, there's nowhere for me to go. I won't be carving out a new life as an Inuit in the barren tundra of Alaska, free from the Chinese government or the North American government or people. People are tyrannical as well as governments. Like I said, loose assemblages of people who voluntarily agree to abide together and live by the same rules. That's not the same thing as a border with an armed guard. If I wanted to leave, if I was in Scotland and I wanted to leave 300 years ago, no passport, no checks at the borders, goodbye Deek, don't you like it here anymore? No, you're all fucking batshit crazy and I'm leaving. Bye, bye Deek. And if I wanted to go to North America and I didn't piss anybody off there to the extent that they killed me, when I arrived in North America, there would be nobody waiting at the port. Can I have your passport? Because there were no passports. What the fuck has it got to do with you where I go on this planet? What the fuck has it got to do with you what I do with my life, where I go, where I live, whether or not I wear a mask or have a test or a vaccine? It's got fuck all to do with you. Fuck you. Fuck your government. Fuck the Queen. Fuck the Pope. Fuck the police. And so, yeah, that's why I don't like government. People think government are there to help them and provide for them, but they're not. Governments are there to rule over them, oppress them, limit them, and restrict them, to rob them, to beat them, to jail them, and to lie to them. That's what governments are for. There is not a single nation, not a single border on this earth that wasn't created and isn't kept in place by the threat or use of force by some band of bandits and brigands and liars and murdering scumbags. The animals, apart from humans, who are free to roam Earth, go where they want, do what they want, the pigeons that shit on your car, the the fish that swim, the sharks that eat the swimmers in Queensland, they are more free than we. All governments are lying, murdering scum. Thanks. Have a great day. I know I'm going to. See you tomorrow for another What the Papers Say. And if you're a new Jew, stay tuned because I am working on having you some badges and t-shirts to wear to make the rest of the population of Nazi scum feel uncomfortable and confront their own ideological horror. Cheers.